You realize Lebanese finishing his prasadam. All right. Om Jnanatimirandhasya Jnananjanashalakaya Chakshurunmilitam Yena Tasmai Shri Gurave Namah Shri Chaitanya Manobhishtam Sthapitam Yena Bhutale Swayam Rupa Kada Madhyam Dadati Swapadamtikam Vandeham Shri Guru Shri Yuta Padakamalam Shri Gurun Vaishnavamscha Shri Rupam Sagrajatam Sagana Raghunathanvidam Dam Sajivam Sadvaitam Savadhutam Parijana Saitam Krishna Chaitanya Devam Shri Radha Krishna Padan Sagana Lalita Shri Vishakhanvitamscha He Krishna Karuna Sindho Dinabandho Jagatpate Gopesha Gopika Kanta Radha Kanta Namostute Tapta Kanchana Gaurangi Radhe Vrindavaneshwari Vrishabhanusute Devi Pranamami Haripriye Vancha Kalpatarubhyascha Kripa Sindhubhyev cha Patidhanam Pavanebhyo Vaishnavebhyo Namo Namaha Jaya Shri Krishna Chaitanya Prabhu Nityananda Shri Advaita Gadadhara Shri Vasari Gaura Bhakta Vrinda Hare Krishna 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 Hare 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 Rama 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 Hare Hare. I think we're on page 38. Get back. Janardhan?
He's on the floor, but I'm so sorry.
Oh, just tell him to. And the call, come.
Yeah.
1 second, we can talk later. Okay. All right. Okay, so continuing the essay of the conception of Gita Nagari, part 2, we are in the paragraph beginning, students during their unmarried brahmacharya life. Can someone start reading that?
Page 38. Students during their unmarried brahmacharya
Can
life.
give the mic.
And page 38.
Okay. PDF page?
Yes, PDF page.
Okay.
All right. Students during their unmarried brahmachari life and householders who have taken leave of family responsibilities in old age shall be entrusted with such work as worship of the deity, education, preaching, editing, and other similar engagements in the Gita Nagari. The Gitanagari shall undertake to maintain such students in Vanapras free of all charge. The householders who shall live in Gitanagari with their family members shall be responsible for carrying on different civic activities such as manipulating business, trade, industry, agriculture, cow keeping, social service, police work, etc. The development of civic activities which shall be undertaken in the Gitanagari shall be shall be so done on account and risk of Sri Parth authority, who shall remain internally the proprietor and enjoyer of the results out of such activities. As such, the workers in those institutions or establishments shall be given free boarding and lodging as prasadam of the deity. It shall, however, always be remembered that the medicine for all material diseases is to be engaged in the transcendental service of Godhead, and the diet thereof is to take part of the prasadam of the deity. The inhabitants of the Gitanagari will have full facility for such medicine and diet for curing their material diseases.
So this, in this part, Srila Prabhupada explains how basically householders maintain the entire society, and that you have both the brahmacharis, vanaprasthas, who are who will be maintained by the householders, by their by the different kinds of activity that they shall be engaged in, and the Gitanagari shall undertake to maintain such students and vanaprasthas free of charges, which means that the students and vanaprasthas, the brahmacharis and vanaprasthas, and means basically those who are in the renounced order, they are meant to show by their exemplary example of high spiritual caliber. They're meant to show dedication in spiritual activities. They're meant to more or less solely engage in Krishna consciousness and activities pertaining to Krishna consciousness. For instance, Srila Bhaktisiddhanta Saraswati Thakur, this is a little different, but for those he gave Babaji initiation to in the Gaudiya Math, their only real service, Bhakti Vikas Maharaj writes in the Bhaktisiddhanta Vaibhava, that that the only real service that that they perform is that they need to chant their rounds. They need to chant and they need to display visible taste for the holy name of the Lord. They need to display visible taste for the holy name of the Lord. Very visible taste for the holy name of the Lord. They need to show that taste for the holy name. They were supposed to exhibit simple living, being simple, renounced, simple-hearted, not get involved in any management or anything like that, and just chant a lot. They could also read and do other things, but mainly they were meant to display a high level of spiritual advancement. And so, in that way, then you can see here that the householders shall live with their family members and be responsible for carrying out different civic activities, such as business, trade, agriculture, industry, cow keeping, social service, police work, etc. And all of this will be done on the account or under the aegis, under the umbrella of the deity themselves. This is actually an ancient system in India where the deity is actually considered to be the king. This was very well known and done even up to as recent to like the independence of India, where daily the king would go and read the accounts and would also go and talk about the affairs of the kingdom, have a report in front of the deity that the king would go. So the king was considered a representative of the deity. And the whole administration was considered as a representative of the deity. So the deity was the controller, and the king and everybody, they were all just enjoying the remnants. The taxes were collected in the name of the deity. So the deity would get a portion of the taxes for deity worship. And the other amount would be distributed for various social activities that would be conducted in the kingdom, such as you can see here, police work, this, that, and civic activities. They were all conducted by the king as prasad of the Lord. And so here also, the idea is that all the activities are done, all the profits are offered to the deity, and then the remnants are partaken. It's just like we offer prasadam. And Prabhupada is making a really, really important point here. He's saying that it shall always be remembered that the medicine for our material material diseases is to be engaged in the transcendental service of Godhead, and the diet thereof is to partake the prasadam of the deity. And the main important point is that the prasadam of the deity should actually come in every single shape and form in our lives. The house should be a prasadam of the deity. The children should be prasadam of the deity. The profits, the business, the activity itself, all the different livestock that one may have to maintain the course, whatever, donkeys or oxen or horses or whatever that may be, it's all considered to be the mercy of the Supreme Lord. There is nothing that a devotee consumes which is not the prasad of the Lord. And so there's an important transcendental science around this. And that science is only implemented and only can be followed by those who have faith that Krishna will provide everything. It's different to the principle of yat karoshi yadashnasi yat juhosi dadasi yat, where the person wants to perform a certain activity, okay, offer that to Krishna. Versus doing things for the sake of the deity, doing things for the sake of Krishna, and then having confidence that Krishna will maintain us. Of course, it's not done in a blind way. Devotees have to come together and establish, as you can see here, it's a huge community, and all these different activities are supposed to go on. And okay, how is it that trade is going to be offered to the Supreme Lord? How can it be done? How is agriculture done? How is cow keeping done? How is police work done? These are things that the members of the Gita Nagari are supposed to come together and discuss. And Prabhupada gives this platform saying that it's on the basis of Bhagavad Gita. That it must be discussed and done on the account of the Bhagavad Gita, And Prabhupada says, they shall be given free boarding and lodging as prasadam of the deity. It's very interesting. He's also saying that the brahmacharis and vanaprasthas will also be maintained for free. The grihasthas will also be maintained for free. But the difference is, the grihasthas have to engage and take up different responsibilities, because that's their dharma. They have to do that. And then Prabhupada is saying that in that way, the inhabitants of Gita Nagari will have full facility for such medicine and diet for curing their material diseases. Okay, we'll continue reading. We'll do it next.
Yeah, medicine.
The medicine will be distributed to all the patients of the Gita Nagari in the shape of lectures, recitation, chanting, singing, etc. from the pages of Bhagavad Gita or allied scriptures daily at the fixed time of prayers or lecture classes in different establishments of the Gita Nagari. In that connection, finer arts in the estimation of the people in general, such as theatrical performances, cinematographic shows, or similar entertainments, can be employed in the service of Godhead and for the cure of the material diseases of the patients. This thing, however, will not be encouraged beyond the sphere of the Gita Nagari, because out of the sphere of the Gita Nagari, those very finer arts and cultures shall lead one to the path of hell, as we are actually experiencing presently. The qualified and empowered preachers of the Gita Nagari will go out of the town to preach the mission of Gita Nagari, not only in India but also in other parts of the world, as the situation will permit. According to the rules of the governing body, such preachers will be able to collect on account and risk of Gita Nagari for its development and carrying out various activities.
So, again, that here you can see Prabhupada is also speaking about how, there would be finer arts, that you have, that there is, and entertainment is a very, it's a very different concept in Vedic culture than it is right now. Entertainment right now is just basically sense gratification and a waste of time, both. But in Vedic culture, entertainment, as it would be said here in Gita Nagari, is basically more Shravan and Kirtan, but just in a different way. Like, in the form of theatrical performances, cinema. Interesting, Prabhupada says cinematographic shows, which I guess back in the day was like cutting edge technology. So, and similar entertainments can be employed in the service of Godhead. So, it's not that, now, the devotees who are living on a farm need to live as simple as possible, but there is scope for a certain section of the farm, or maybe, as long as things don't degrade one another. The point is, the principle of Yukta Vairagya is never lost completely. However, Yukta Vairagya has to be employed in the manner that Rupa Goswami says it should be employed. Which is, the first thing is anashaktasya vishayan, yatarham upayunjataha. That anashaktasya vishayan, anashaktihi, ashaktihi. So what is asakti?
Attachment.
Attachment. It's one of the stages of devotional service. That's asakti. Anasakti is what?
Detach.
Yes. That the objects with which one is detached from. This is the first condition Rupa Goswami gives. Everybody conveniently forgets about this when they explain Yukta Vairagya. Anashaktasya vishayan. Vishayan means objects, material things. Vishayan. Anashaktasya vishayan. Yatharham. You take it. Upayunjataha. Upayunja. Yunj means to join, to connect. Yuj. The word yoga comes from the root word yuj. So upayunjataha, you connect it. Nirbandhe Krishna sambandhe. That which has no connection with Krishna, because of its material nature, it has no connection with Krishna. But you employ it in Krishna service. Krishna sambandhe. You create that connection. Krishna sambandhe. Because everything is related to Krishna. But because of our materialistic perspective, it's not related to Krishna. Nirbandhe Krishna sambandhi yuktam vairagyam uchyate. This is called Yukta Vairagya. So the first important qualification of Yukta Vairagya is that one is detached from the object. Now, most devotees use the word Yukta Vairagya for that which they are attached to. That is not Yukta Vairagya. That is called attachment. That is called material desire. That is not Yukta Vairagya. That is karma yoga. If one understands that he has attachment to that and he regrets it, but he's still like, okay, at least I'm attached to this, at least let me use it in Krishna service, then even though he is on that platform of mixed devotional service, means he's still like, actually he's on the platform of pure devotional service, even though he hasn't become completely purified. That's not mixed. Mixed devotional service is when one has no clue that one thinks that everything is perfect. He just employs it in, he gives something, he has attachment to something and he doesn't see any problem being attached to it. And he thinks it's, it's okay. And he's just like, oh, somehow it's connected to Krishna. That is mixed devotional service. If a devotee regrets that not pure condition, then he's on the path of pure devotional service, although he hasn't become completely purified. But until he reaches the stage of detachment, it is not Yukta Vairagya. It is resembling Yukta Vairagya, but you will still face the problems of being attached to something. You will still face the reaction. Some kind of reaction will be there. You will suffer. Because material attachment means material suffering. So this is a very important point. Anashaktasi Vishayan. So when devotees on a farm are able to employ such cinematographic theatrical performances for the sake, theatrical theater without modern technology. Now with modern technology, I'm speaking of like, because the farm community is supposed to be living simple. Devotees are expected to live simple, Prabhupada said, why do we need electricity for living, this, that. But for preaching, you can use. But you use it, especially on the farm, you only use it when it is confident that devotees have a proper understanding and that they will not, that it is actually anasaktasya. Actually, there is some detachment, not ashakti. Not that people look at that and they become envious and they bring everything in, there's air, whatever, you open a restaurant and because public is coming, you put air conditioning over there, drag the AC into the farm and where the village is, and then everything is lost. It's finished. Once you have all these things, it's over. There is no simple living anymore. It's expensive living, and you brought the city into the farm. Then everything else will follow. One after another, everything else follows. So this is an important point to understand. That Prabhupada is saying this thing, however, will not be encouraged beyond the sphere of Gita Nagari, because out of the sphere of Gita Nagari, those finer arts and cultures shall lead one to the path of hell, as we are actually experiencing presently. So if anything on the farm brings us to the point of modern culture, then everything is defeated. Everything is defeated. So that's the point. It's, sometimes devotees may wonder, what is about Yukta Vairagya? Why are we not allowed to use these things? Well, you can. You have to do it from a detached way. And then it's really Yukta Vairagya. And because the farm especially is meant for householders, there must be very great emphasis on the protection of children, women and older people. Now specifically here, the children and women also, but specifically children who are very, very easily, liable to become influenced, who do not have the capacity to become detached through philosophy because they're kids. I mean, now everywhere you can see what is parenting today? Give them an iPad. That's modern day parenting. That's it. And you just let them go to hell in your own house. And it's really bad, actually. It's the amount of temper tantrums these kids throw and they can't get the phone or they can't get the iPad or whatever. It's ridiculous. It's ridiculous. And come on, we have experience. Sit 1 hour and 2 hours and you scrolled and then you kind of realize you've just wasted all this time just scrolling. How does your brain feel? It feels like your brain is half dead. You feel like you're such tamagun, wasted all this time and you're like, oh, it's like, and imagine these kids, they grow up with their brain, it can't cultivate anything finer. It just is killed by this, these kind of objects. It's very dangerous. So that's what we're faced with. And so Prabhupada is also making the point that devotees who are preachers, they will also go out and they will preach the mission of Gita Nagari and like this. And it's not that they are all confined only to the farm, that they may go out. And it says, according to the rules of the governing body, such preachers will be able to collect on account of the Gita Nagari for its development and carrying out various activities. So like we discussed in the last class, that fundraising is also always going to be a part of that, farm. Okay, you can continue. All facilities.
All facilities that can be available for the... Yeah, sorry, my hand is okay.
And just leave it in front of him.
Oh, okay. All facilities that can be available for the preaching work of the Gita Nagari shall be accepted favorably without damaging the very principles of Gita Nagari. And among such facilities, the following can be accepted immediately. 1. To answer all the inquiries from all parts of the world in all languages.
In all languages.
2. Publication of propaganda in different languages of the world. And 3. Utilizing radio vans and other publicity facilities by cinematographic shows, etc. In the Gita Nagari, birthday anniversaries of Lord Krishna, Sri Ramachandra, Lord Chaitanya, Sri Nishima Chaturdasi, and similar other functions shall be properly celebrated, and observance of Ekadashi shall be strictly performed. everyone, irrespective of caste, creed, and color, who shall abide by the rules and regulations of the Gita Nagari, shall be admitted as inhabitants of the town. The governing body shall remain vigilant on the point that nobody can enter into the town without some ulterior motive, outside the service of Parthasarathi. All facilities, however, shall be offered to real, inquisitive, and sincere souls, who shall endeavor to profit by such facilities for transcendental life.
So one thing to understand is that you can see by the example of people like Parikshit Maharaj and others, you'll see that they were always very vigilant to maintain the principles of religion that have been established by the Supreme Personality of Godhead. And that, in that sense, there is a lot of care and attention that goes into maintaining the fabric of Dharma and Krishna consciousness in a community. And it's a challenging thing, and it in one sense it is a frustrating thing also, because the nature of the material world is to degrade everything. So the force of time is always working in the back. Maya is always working in the back. She's working in everyone's heads. She's working on everyone's hearts. She's working, outside in terms of material nature and this and that. And the force of time, kalosmi loka krayakrit pravritto. Krayakrit literally means that which causes degradation. Kshaya. Akshaya means that which is not degraded. Kshaya means that which is degraded. So, kalosmi loka kshayakrit pravritto. So, the forces of material nature are always like working against, and so it's always a challenge. Even Supreme Personality of Godhead therefore has to personally come. Yada yada hi dharmasya glanihi. Because dharma glanihi happens. That the dharma does get, degraded as time goes by. And then Supreme Personality of Godhead himself has to come to re-establish these things. So that's always there. And no endeavor will be completely perfect. But what is the perfection? If by our endeavors we have tried to do our best sincerely to serve the Supreme Personality of Godhead, then our lives are perfect. And then it's on to the next generation. So this is the point. That and Krishna blesses, Krishna protects, But everything in the material world also has its course of things. Therefore, devotees are also detached when they do things. What is it? Even the empire of the Pandavas, where is it now? Parikshit Maharaj was there, then his son Janamejaya took up, and then a few generations later, that's predicted in the 12th canto itself. Right there in the 12th canto, Narada Muni tells. It's all soon after, it's going to go to hell. Even your dynasty is going to be finished. So that's all there, but still, that doesn't mean that devotees become disturbed and that they let their enthusiasm get affected. No, we do it enthusiastically because Supreme Personality of Godhead wants it, so we do it, and that's it. And then, So, we'll take questions at the end. Just note it.
Okay, about the text itself.
Yeah, just note questions, and then we'll take questions at the end. Okay, go on.
Material science has offered unique facilities for traveling all over the world within a short time, and the authorities shall take advantage of these facilities for preaching work of the Gita Nagari in every respect. By such transcendental mode of work, the Gita Nagari can do immense service to humanity in the true sense of the term. Bhagavad Gita advises to give up all kinds of religions that are going on in the world and take up the principles of Bhagavad Gita, meaning thereby that all other, humanity the much wanted peace of the world, and this is only possible and effective with the principle of the Bhagavad Gita. Communal strife that has come out of different religious faiths is due to the lack of understanding of the real nature of religious faith, and as such, the real nature of Godhead, or, it has come out of not serving the internal potency of Godhead. The philosophy of Bhagavad Gita is applicable to everyone's practical life, and therefore the principles of Bhagavad Gita are really meant for a universal type of religious faith, to be accepted after all reasonings of human society. As such, all intelligent persons all over the world must now combine together to preach the universal religion of Bhagavad Gita. It is above all types of communalism. Countries like Russia and Europe have taken an atheistic turn due to false preaching of religion without any philosophical basis, as religion without philosophy is either communalism or sentimentalism. The religion of Bhagavad Gita is different from all such sentimental or speculative types of religion. America is on the threshold of Russian thought, and in Asia they are naturally following such atheistic principles of life. With such a condition of the people in general, who will save the world from devastation by preaching the religion of Bhagavad Gita? One should read and learn Bhagavad Gita as it is. The personality of Godhead has most mercifully explained himself as easily as it is possible for him, so that he may be known by us, and unauthorized persons simply muddle the matter by presenting various interpretations of Bhagavad Gita in order to preach the vanity of mundane learning. Bhagavad Gita is not a subject for such speculative mundaners. It is spoken by Godhead, and it is understood by the devotees of Godhead and nobody else. Those who try to go above Godhead by their poor fund of knowledge will surely go away from Godhead. The Gita Nagari will try its utmost to save people from such degradation. Save the world from devastation by preaching this true interpretation of Bhagavad Gita.
Jai Srila Prabhupada ki jai.
Jai.
So here, Prabhupada basically he's using the word communalism to actually refer to communism. Actually, Prabhupada, he said this multiple times. He said that the Krishna conscious or the Vedic style of governance is actually spiritual communism. It is communism, but it's spiritual communism. So, and that's the same, and that's the point he says that what happens is in the world you're kind of left with all these different ideas, all these different isms, because none of them really accept the supremacy of the Supreme Lord. And until people accept the supremacy of the Supreme Lord, because that's the natural philosophy. The natural philosophy is Ishavasim idam sarvam yat kincha jagatyam jagat tena tektena bunjida ma grida kasya svidhanam. This is the first verse of the Ishopanishad. Ishavasim idam sarvam, everything belongs to Supreme Personality of Godhead. That's communism. That's communism. In the United States, you can't say everything belongs to the government. You're not supposed to say that technically, because it's a capitalist country. You're not supposed to say that. But in a communist country, everything does belong to the government. Everything completely belongs to the government. But both these ideas are wrong. The truth is, everything belongs to the Supreme Personality of Godhead. Ishavashim idam sarvam yat kincha jagatyam jagat. Everything that's there in this world belongs to the Supreme Lord. Tena tektena bunjida. Accept what you need for your maintenance. Ma gada kasya svidhanam. Don't be greedy after someone else's wealth or that which doesn't belong to you. Ma grida kasya svidhana. Don't be greedy of others. But since everything belongs to the Supreme Lord, if you're greedy for anything more than what you need, then you're greedy of the items that are actually belonging to the Supreme Lord. So a spiritual society is organized on this principle. Everything belongs to the Supreme Lord. Okay, you will get what you need, but not what you are greedy for. There's enough in this world for everyone's need, not for everyone's greed. Because greed has no limit. And so this is, as Srila Prabhupada says, everything ultimately is based on Bhagavad Gita, and that what can save the world from devastation is preaching the religion of Bhagavad Gita. So I'll stop there. Any questions or comments? Yes.
Mike or
Mike.
So just a couple questions. So first question is just like in general. So this Gita Nagari. So is like what Prabhupada is describing. So is this like a society or just like a village or like a nation or?
I think what Srila Prabhupada ultimately wanted was it does begin like a like a village or like a farm or
Yeah.
like this like it actually begins like a town and then like grows into like a nation
Yeah.
and like that.
Okay.
Actually, Prabhupada basically wanted the entire India to become like this. Like,
Yeah.
That's basically what Prabhupada wanted.
Okay. Yeah.
That's more or less what he's saying in this article.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Okay. And then my second question is, so like as like this article is developing, and I guess we'll kind of like discuss that later. So it just seems like we say like simple living, high thinking, but then it seems like some of the stuff is like not very simple. like Prabhupada's talking about like utilizing like radio vans and like mass like editing and stuff like that, and like preaching all over the world. So I'm just kind of like wondering like how does that like kind of all tie in? It seems kind of like complex.
See, the principle is that anything that is accepted should not degrade the principles of the Gita Nagari. And the point is that the way these modern things were used back in the day, or that which was modern back in the day, had less of a degrading effect than it does today. A lot less of a degrading effect than it does today. Back in that day, even if you did have these radio vans, it's a very specific group of people who could even afford such a thing. And remember, this is like cutting edge, so back then it was actually very expensive to do these things, like super expensive. Cinematographic is basically movies.
Yeah.
And back then, if you look at all these like black and white movies, this was around that time, just around the turn of when they started making color movies. It was very basic, and still you would have to spend a significant amount of money. Most people didn't do it. And so the level of information and the level of, there was just a lot more control of these things. The internet has changed everything.
Yeah.
And then bringing the internet into our pockets is really amazing. When I was a kid, there was internet. But, you'd have to do this dial-up modem.
Yeah, I remember that.
And, most of the time, and if somebody called, the internet was gone. And it was so frustrating, and it just download a few emails, it's like, it just sits there and you're like, okay, it's coming, and it was like, and to some extent, of course, during Prabhupada's time, there was no internet. It's difficult to imagine that there was a world that was without internet right now. It's just, I don't know how to conceive of it. How people even now, whenever I read Harish Saudi Prabhu's Transcendental Diary, Prabhupada wrote all these letters. I'm like, how do they know where to deliver the letters? How do they know where to forward it? Prabhupada's always on the move. How did he get all his letters?
Yeah.
I still can't really conceive of it because, using letters is
Yeah.
it's like such a anytime some company or someone wants to mail you have to mail them something or a check, you have to mail a response from you gosh, you're gonna mail this thing. It's and all we have to do is just stick a stamp on it and stick it into the mailbox and pull that flag up.
Yeah.
But even that is it's why can't they do it online? So things have changed so much. And modern things are analyzed on the basis of their effect. And it's not going to be just the exact same. Because the principle is what we have to use to judge what are the risks of using something and what are the risks of not using something. And so it's arguable to think that even if you had radio vans, how much is that really going to affect people's lifestyle? There was no air conditioning, at least not in India.
Yeah.
The concept didn't exist. There was no air conditioning. So things are different. Now these things are so easily available. They're not easily available. They are the standard of life. They're just how life is. We don't know how, at least in the United States, we don't know how to live without these things. So there are going to be some adjustments that we have to make according to how quickly, these things have caused, have made advancements and allowed things to get degraded so fast.
Okay.
Yeah. Yes.
This is regarding Yukta Vairagya attack. It's difficult to imagine like pure Yukta Vairagya. It looks like it will be like proportions, like
That's true.
it's like karma yoga and
It's okay.
Otherwise, it's like he's a lot louder.
karma yoga is like where they finish karma yoga and started Yukta Vairagya.
Yeah.
Otherwise, it will be like someone asks Prabhupada, please tell us about the pastimes of Radha and Krishna, and Prabhupada told we are not qualified. They told no, we are qualified. Prabhupada told no, I'm not qualified.
Yeah.
You are qualified. It means like the pure Yukta Vairagya is difficult to imagine even to who is on the level of this completely renounced from all these attachments. Mostly proportions is more like on the side of karma yoga.
But at least one has to theoretically understand that one should not be attached to these things. Otherwise, there is no point. If one thinks, oh, Yukta Vairagya, and enjoy. This is wrong. It's a very wrong mentality. It's not enjoy. You should, if you don't need it, you have to be willing to accept that you don't need it. And if it is starting to degrade the community, then it must be taken out. It must be prevented. If it's becoming a big problem, then yes. Some action needs to be taken, because it's not possible in all circumstances and places to just say we'll engage everything. Some things are affecting us more than other things. So then the things that are affecting us more, if we avoid it, better. Because we are not on that platform. So use the other things. Okay, Prabhupada, like you tractor, because if you don't have manpower in a farm, you don't have manpower, it's too much, so use tractor. Okay. So there's one, example. But then you take that tractor, you bring the iPad, you bring this, you bring that, you bring everything. You say, what, using tractor, what, I can use this, everything is all modern, everything modern. Then where do you draw the line? So there has to be some sense should be there.
Like with all this tendency is like a very prominent.
It's very dangerous.
Material energy, they have like a tendency to degrade.
Very fast.
Very fast.
Yeah. Okay, anything else? You, something?
I was listening to class by His Holiness on TV class Maharaj. And he made a point which maybe it's obvious, but I didn't really conceive of it. About Srila Prabhupada's vision of spiritual communism. How it's not that there's like a governing body and they distribute all the wealth as how communism's normally conducted. And it's not the barter system either, where people trade grains with milk, but it's actually like communal reciprocation. How like everybody's working hard and everybody loves each other, so they provide for each other. It's not like I'll trade you this, but you have to give me that.
That will be there also, but
Yeah.
the main principle is that that it's it's not so much business minded.
Yeah. So I don't know. This is just a point that stuck in my head. I had a question. There's this paragraph. Everyone, irrespective of caste, creed, and color, shall abide by the rules and regulations of the Gita Nagari, shall be admitted as inhabitants of the town. The governing body shall remain vigilant on the point that nobody can enter into the town with some ulterior motive outside of the service of Parthasarthi. So I guess I'd just like some clarification on that, because there's 4 kinds of people that approach the Supreme Lord, all of which have all of which except one have some ulterior motive, right? To get out of their distress or to get some wealth. Or, people might be attracted to our community because it's a nice community. There's fresh food, all this stuff. So these are like ulterior motives. But what's like the distinction? Why is Prabhupada saying here that no one should be allowed if they have some ulterior motive?
Means that they're not willing to be purified. So the farm would have to get set up in such a way that, you have people who are coming there for the purpose of actually serving, in this case, Parthasarathi. Actually serving, wanting to come there to perform devotional service. Because the whole point is we're trying to preach Krishna consciousness. Right? That's what we're trying to do. Even at the farm is what we're trying to do is to preach Krishna consciousness. We're not just preaching farming and organic vegetables or whatever that may be. Ultimately, we're trying to attract people to worshiping Krishna and taking shelter of Krishna is what we need to do. So this is what we are ultimately trying to preach. So, so this is this. So the point is also one thing. The ulterior motives are kept away to a large extent when the spiritual principles are followed very nicely. As everybody is rising in the morning, attending Bhagavatam class and chanting their rounds and all of this, then you see it's harder. There might be other people who will come, they'll create some disturbance, but they can't stay. They won't be able to stay. It will become obvious after some time and they themselves will leave. I was discussing this even in Nandagram. And, they've had this kind of instances and things like that in different farm communities. It's just, you won't be able to stay. So those who are the leaders of such a project know how to establish those principles. There are certain things that we shouldn't compromise on. And that's what will separate the sincere from the unsincere. When those principles are compromised, then you see what you see today in so many centers of the movement. There's people with all kinds of ulterior desires and doing all kinds of stuff. Really, really crazy stuff. All dressed like devotees. It's there. It's a fact. We're not pointing out any specific names, so we're not specifically offending anyone. But it is a fact that such things are there. And why? Because, anyways, and it's hard to fix sometimes these problems. You try to, I've seen multiple instances of devotees trying to go into a temple and then trying to fix it. We'll fix it. And they just get completely burned, chewed out, spat out. And they don't want to have anything to do with the movement after that. It's just they're done. Because everything is such a complicated mess. So so that's the problem. You see how Kali can just make everything complicated. Try trying to fix the problems in society today. It's just one problem entangled with another problem, so many other problems. It's a big Gordian knot. You pull in one side. You pull the knot on one side, it gets knotted up here. You try to release that knot on that side, it gets knotted up on the other side. You're left with this big, big mess. Therefore, Krishna says in Bhagavad Gita, when he refers to the tree of material existence in chapter 15, he says, Asanga Shastrena Dhridena Chidva. That with force that one cuts the tree, because it's not possible. It's too entangled. So you just have to cut it. So this cutting is not easy. It's often painful.
That means cutting our attachments.
Cutting our attachments and also establishing things, because there are people and personalities who will try to adjust things and bend things according to their desires. and you have to be uncompromising. Sometimes it's difficult. It's painful. And sometimes there will always be mistakes, but ultimately Krishna protects his devotees. Therefore, we have stories in the Bhagavata, Mahabharata, and other places where devotees might make mistakes, but Krishna covers it because they were sincere. They took shelter of it. That's all we can do. Okay, anything else?
On small side note, we hear, rereading it, countries like Russia and Europe have taken an atheistic turn due to false preaching of religion without any philosophical basis, as religion without philosophy is either communalism or sentimentalism. It seems like communalism, the definition says allegiance to one's own ethnic group rather than to the wider society. So it fits in the context that communalism, in the sense that Russia is sticking to their own ethnic group rather than to the wider society.
Yeah.
And reading it with sentimentalism, it looks like it's maybe a correct usage.
No, it's correct usage.
Yeah.
I'm just saying that it's the same as communism, pretty much.
Communism is like group of people saying they'll work towards the same cause, but they don't define what the cause is. They just say, okay, like we'll all.
Well, generally, it's national.
Yeah, national.
Generally, it's national, which is based on ethnicity. Most of the time.
Yeah.
I mean, what else is it? Chinese
That's
and
also
Chinese. Because they're Chinese.
Yeah.
That's it.
Yeah.
Okay. Yes.
No, I think I was agreeing with Trendy previous point, because it seems here that Prabhupada's use of communalism isn't about communism, but it's tied to religion without philosophy.
Yes.
So I thought, because you made the point earlier that Prabhupada was using communalism, but he actually meant communism.
It's similar in today's world.
But it's just because I'm not clear on how that ties to religion without
I think
philosophy.
back in the day, the USSR wasn't established at that time, I think.
It was established in 1922.
Oh, it was. So USSR was already there. The USSR was communist.
1922.
Yeah.
Like
That's why I was saying, because if Russia, if at that time was the USSR, and Prabhupada is referring to Russia,
Yeah.
so how are you supposed to define? The Soviet Union was known to be communistic.
Yeah, he used it so
Strictly
many times. Yeah.
Actually, today Russia is not technically communistic, right? It's technically democratic. But, yeah.
It's just in this context, yes. I thought, okay.
Okay, all right. I have a few things that we could. There's not much time, but okay, I'll make this point. So, simple living. What does simple living mean? Bhakti Vikas Maharaj defined this. Simple living and high thinking. He gave 3 principles. He said, it's natural, simple, natural, and godly. He uses these 3 things. So, it's something that we're doing, is it simple? It's not complicated, it's simple. Is it natural? And is it godly? Godly meaning, is it based on Krishna consciousness? In Vedic culture, simple living means utilizing as many things as we can from nature the way they're found in nature, or keeping it to a large extent in a natural way. Not trying to put it through heavy processing, which requires complicated machinery and heavy industries and things like that. There's not so much processing. Why? And why do people do this? Why is processing done? Why is processing done? Like, why does modern civilization like processing things? Everything is ultimately got from nature, right? Even what do you say, processed item? Ultimately, everything is natural, because nothing is produced from nature. So, yeah.
They want everything to be cookie cutter perfect.
Could you refine that a little bit more?
They want to manipulate the material energy.
Okay, close. Yes, very close. I mean, I just like trying to hit the nail there. What are they? What do they? What with a raw product? What are they unable to do that they expect to do with a processed item? Or what does it allow them to do?
Allows them to control.
Huh?
Control.
Of course, I mean you can control natural things also.
Okay.
But what kind of why is this such a great endeavor to try to process things? Especially today, modern industries, modern civilizations, all based on
People, they want to change like these things, but they don't want to change themselves.
no.
Some
It's too philosophical.
Some sort of Shrishti Bhav.
No, huh?
Some Shrishti Bhav. They want to create.
They want to remove the natural limitations found in natural products. And them processing it removes those limitations. They can do a lot more with stuff when it's processed. And they can take crude oil. It's crude oil that you extract from the earth. It's practically useless if it's just like that. But when they process it, just think how many things they can produce out of it. And because crude oil by itself can't be used. It's just this big like black slush. But when you process it, just see how much they are able to do. So it allows them to use things in a way that nature by itself doesn't allow us to do. Nature by itself will not allow you to use these objects in those kind of things. You have to process it. So the emphasis on trying to use as much natural products, not that everything is just used exactly in that way, it's not that we are not allowed to process it to some extent, but the point is the heavy processing that they do today, it really allows them to play God in a way that you couldn't do, because you're not limited by Krishna's nature in one sense. At least you feel like you're not. It's illusion. Ultimately they are limited. But it feels like you're not limited. It feels like you're kind of unlimited. It gives you that level of Ishwar Bhav that you get. And if the more we try to move towards using and processing things that are natural and simple, the more we are willing to accept Krishna-laid limitations on our lives that are laid by material nature. For instance, if you don't have a motor car, you can't drive. Prabhupada said, what is this nonsense civilization? Driving. There are people who fly to work every day. No, there are. This is crazy. Absolutely insane. But you don't have that. You can't. Then what do? You accept. Okay, this is how it is. Then you have to work. Okay, this is, Prabhupada said, maximum 5 miles. Why do you need to go more than 5 miles? Anywhere. There's a conversation, we'll read that. So, to use natural products, the purpose of doing this is to accept those limitations that Krishna gives. Why? Because that also prevents, what does it prevent? It prevents fall down to a large extent. Because it limits the ability it limits to the extent to how much you can get carried away. You look at this phone, the ways in which you can fall down with this thing is so massively unlimited. It's crazy. It's like it's literally its glories of making someone like fall down is unlimited. Think about it. How much you can use this for being Krishna conscious versus how many ways you can fall down. There's some ways in which you can use it to be Krishna conscious, but it's definitely fewer than the ways in which you can screw your life over with this. I mean, we can break all the 4 regulative principles on this one little screen, including gambling. it's all right here. All you need to do is just press and 4 eggs are finished. So it's so easy. So this, so anyways, that's one point that many modern things, they have this effect on us in general. Now, this is a very general statement. It's obviously different things are different. This is a modern object, but it's just a mic. So there's a little bit of a difference, but in general, the principle is that accepting Krishna given limitations in the way that they have been accepted by the great sages and the devotees and all the followers of the Bhagavad Gita in the past ages, and that is the safest way to lead life. So that's one of the points I wanted to make. And then Vedic culture, there's more emphasis. Use things like that. The more natural we can get to things, the better it is. Okay, all right. Hare Krishna.
What are we reading next week? We just finished this article.
Yeah, we'll be beginning different conversations and lectures of Srila Prabhupada on Varnashrama. We'll be doing that book on speaking. What is that? Speak about Varnashrama. What is that?
It's like a yellow Varnashrama.
Some book, yeah. Speaking about Varnashrama, something like this. Okay, all right. Hare Krishna. Srila Prabhupada ki jai. Vancha kalpatarubhyascha kripa sindhubhyo cha patitanam pavanebhyo vaishnavebhyo namo namaha.
Yeah, let's do it.
Yeah.